few days ago, my little brother Rob and I set out on a multi-day hiking trip through the Appalachian Mountains. We were both pretty good outdoorsmen and brought only what we could carry on our backs. We purposefully set off to avoid established trails, hoping to discover some place that no one had ever explored before. The first 2 days were beautiful. We walked through trees, crossed some small streams, and took some great pictures. The temperature was unseasonably warm, so much so that we often took off our sweaters to not overheat. It was the third day that the strangeness started. As we climbed a ridge, Rob noticed that some of the dirt had been eroded away, leaving stone. Somebody had clearly carved stairs into the stone. We followed them as we climbed. If you've spent any time in the woods, you know that there are several telltale signs of human activity. Trash, campfires, that sort of thing. We hadn't seen any of them up to this point, so seeing stairs excited and confused us. How old were they? Were they carved by Native Americans? The stone path continued deeper into the woods. We didn't have a better plan, so we decided to see where it led. At times it was hard to keep track of, but after some searching, we would always pick it up again. Later that night, we set up our tent, and I stepped outside to look up at the stars. They were not the same stars I'd seen the past 2 nights. Now, I know many of you may be asking me what I mean. After all, most people can only identify the Big Dipper or Orion's Belt at most. Not me, though. I'm studying astronomy in college right now. My on-campus job is to align telescopes to the right spot in the right constellation. So when I tell you the stars were not right, I know what I'm talking about. There were stars for sure, just not any constellations I recognized, and that's what unsettled me the most. I returned to the campsite to tell Rob, but he cut me off. "Does it smell strange to you?" he asked. It did. I couldn't explain it very well, but the air smelled off. They say that smells activate memories more than any other sense, and this one was powerful. It reminded me of a cave I'd nearly been trapped in as a teenager. It reminded me of the car accident I'd seen a year back. I don't mean to say it actually smelt like any of those things, just that it reminded me of them somehow. We went to bed feeling uneasy. Our compass still worked, and I told myself I might have missed constellations due to overworking myself. I knew that wasn't true, but it's what got me to sleep that night. The next day we set out again, determined to get through this strange part of the forest. The sense of disorientation from the night before got worse and worse, though. If we weren't staring directly at our compasses, we found ourselves lost in the woods, forced to hack our way back onto the stone path. The forest grew thick and muggy, and the trail led us into a steep valley. We were forced to continue forward. I kept seeing something in the woods out of the corner of my eye. Rob reported seeing the same thing. The forest was dark, though, despite it being nearly midday. We started switching off which one of us was the guide, but the forest was so thick that it was hard to keep an eye on our compasses for long. "Dude," Rob said from in front of me. I paused, following his gaze. He was staring up at a tree. 3 squirrels were hanging from it, each with trails of blood soaking the tree beneath them. A symbol was carved above them that I didn't recognize. We stared at it for a long time, not sure of what to do. The squirrels couldn't have been more than a few days old. We talked about it and made the decision to push on ahead. We were almost through the park, and we'd come across a road if we made it through to the other side. We might not have made that decision if we knew we'd pass a dozen more trees just like that one along the stone trail. Some trees were strung up with squirrels, but we saw raccoons, bunnies, even the remains of a rotting deer on a tree. We tried not to look at them and instead pressed on with more speed. We were pausing to drink some water when I heard a low croaking sound from behind us. I turned and for the first time saw the black figure. It was a woman, crouched down in the underbrush. She was staring at the 2 of us, My entire body screamed at me to move, but I couldn't. The smell from earlier was thick and heavy in the air. I swapped my phone to the camera and took a picture, not daring to move. The snap of my phone was enough to break us out of our trance, and we took off running. We followed the stone trail back the way we'd come, not slowing down until we were puffing for air. We looked around, but didn't see her. When we'd caught our breath a little, we continued, not stopping until we'd passed the first stone steps on the ridge late that night. I'm not sure what we saw. If anyone has heard about an entity like this in the forest, please let us know. I'm scared. It's been a few days and I still smell it.